Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you. This is a webinar we are hosting today to talk about integrations between two Litera products, Foundation and Clocktomizer. Can just give a few more seconds maybe to allow a few more people to join in. In the meantime, I will share just some general household rules. We will record today's session. After the session, you will have an opportunity to provide your feedback. So please prepare for that. We will appreciate that. You can ask questions throughout the session. Use the question panel, and we will spot your questions and address them as soon as possible. And to kick this off, first of all, I would like to introduce our panel today. I will just pass on the microphone so we can introduce ourselves. So today we have Mike. Please introduce yourself and welcome.
Thank you. My name is Mike Goulet. I'm the Director of Pricing and Business Analysis at WilmerHale. I've been with Wilmer just about 11 years. I've been working on and growing with the pricing team since that day. We've been early adopters of Clocktomizer and use both Clocktomizer and Foundation as part of our pricing regime at the firm.
Thank you very much, Michael. Really nice to have you here. And we also have Ryan.
Hi, everyone. Ryan Geckler. I'm a manager of pricing and project management at Goodwin. I've been at Goodwin for just over 5 years now, and I started out on the financial planning and analysis team, moved over to pricing 6 or 7 months ago. At Goodwin, we've been using Foundation for a long time. We rolled out Clocktomizer earlier this year, and we're excited about this integration between the two for sure.
Great. Thank you so much, Ryan. We're really pleased to have our customers join the webinar. I think we're all keen to hear how integrations work for you and what does it mean for you and the use cases that it helps cover. So we'll get to that in a second. But also would like to introduce my counterpart, the product manager at Foundation, Max.
Thanks, Alita. I'm Max Polinsky, as you know, the product manager for Foundation at Litera. Just a quick background on myself. I've been with Foundation/Litera for about 3.5 years now in various roles. So I'm the product manager role now, have worked with, just from some of you I see on here, as a solutions engineers helping you implement, and have been a customer at one point. So I have been living, breathing, and eating Foundation for pretty much since it came into existence. So. And really looking forward to hearing how of our customers are going to talk about it. And Yelita, I'll let you make your own quick introduction before I believe take it over from you. So
yes, thank you very much. And it's a pleasure working not only with our customers but also with Foundation. I'm representing Clocktomizer today, product manager. I joined Clocktomizer in 2019. And it's been a pleasure learning about the industry and the challenges from our customers as well as from other products we have within Litera. Today we'll focus on Foundation and Clocktomizer specifically, and I'm looking forward to see where the discussion takes. So Max, passing it on to you. First of all, we'll kick it off with a mini demo to just give you a quick taste of what integrations we're actually going to discuss today.
Yep, thanks, Yolita. And so this really concludes our PowerPoint piece of the presentation. And we really are going to start with in Clocktomizer just to do a very quick demo for you all, just to kind of give you a reference for what Michael and Ryan are going to be talking about and how they're leveraging the two tools. So Yolita, I'm going to, if you wouldn't mind just saying a few words about just Clocktomizer in general, just to give kind of a baseline for people, and then we can go right from there.
Yes, absolutely. Some of you might not be yet familiar with Clocktomizer, so just a few lines around that. Clocktomizer is a data-driven matter management, budgeting, and pricing solution for law firms. And the main, one of the main problems that Clocktomizer tries to solve is access to data. So sometimes timekeepers will not code their time narratives accurately, but the unique solution that Clocktomizer offers, our algorithm uses natural language processing, and we read the narratives to assign activities to time entries automatically. So this provides insights to help support various use cases across law firms. There's more to that, but this is just a quick overview, and maybe I can also jump into how these insights link to Foundation and why this integration is helpful. So sometimes Clocktomizer users, and that's where of course we'll hear more from Michael and Ryan later on. Once you have the granular insights into activities, you might also need to expand the research into more broader data. So let's say client sector, matter industries, matter profiles, and that data currently doesn't sit in Clocktomizer. And that's where we can quickly take some of these matters from Clocktomizer into Foundation for deeper analysis. Maybe we can have a quick demo of that, Max.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what we're going to take you through is just some real quick overview of how these work together and how really, you can start your workflow from whatever system to get to one to the other. So if we're doing all those great things that Yolita said within Clocktomizer that it can really provide, but I need some more of that insight into the actual matter, which I know we're keeping all that data in Foundation, I can quickly toggle over to that. And this is going to open it in Foundation, and we should see that exact same matter. And once this loads, I'm just going to take another quick pause just to kind of give a very quick overview of Foundation. And I say very quick because if you let me, I would take up the rest of this webinar and probably the rest of your day. So talking about Foundation, but we're coming to a matter page here where we're collecting a lot of great information about, the work we did, some information that we want to capture against every single matter, and then information we're collecting specific to this matter as well. So we can really get a lot of insight into what actually did this matter mean. Now, of course, this is not all we have in Foundation, so we can really take a holistic firm intelligence perspective at our clients, the people that are involved with it, as far as external third parties, as well as internal attorneys and other people that are working with these. So Foundation really allows us to incorporate a lot of that information that already exists around the firm and combine it with a lot of information that we're capturing directly in Foundation. So at a high level, it helps give us that holistic picture into things. And now with the incorporation of Clocktomizer, we're even doing even more of that. So of course, if I was starting in Foundation from here, I have those same exact toggling. If I'm looking at this matter and kind of diving into the metadata about it, I can quickly jump back over to that matter analysis where we started in Clocktomizer. So I can start my workflows from either area. I can also jump to a fee comparison. We're going to take a look at that in a little bit. I am going to toggle just to another site of mine that has a little bit more rich data. As you can see, we're on that same matter, but I'm going to go to another matter as well that again just has some more better data that I'd like to show as far as these visuals. So aside from that jumping off point, we're actually bringing the activities that Clocktomizer is identifying via its algorithm for what has taken place on these matters. So at a glance, I can really see the top activities that were involved in there, as well as any additional ones, and really how much of that has went into there, as well as from the people that actually did that work, who were the ones performing this type of activities and the breakdown against that as well. Even taking it from there, I can take a look at a person and say, hey, while we were just looking at the breakdown of activities on that matter, I really care about Jason here and what he's been doing just as a whole for himself, where I can then slice and dice it by various years that I have defined to get a sense of, again, the top activities that they're typically involved with, as well as everything they're really doing as well. One more thing I want to jump to show kind of another jumping off point before I really show the power of one of my favorite pieces in here is from clients. So again, from clients, I can jump over to Clocktomizer to get more insight into that client analysis or a client drill down. Again, we're not going to click on every one of these. So if you do have more interest, it's a great chance to reach out for more information. So we have that jumping off point, but really where I think a lot of power comes into play is performing some very targeted searches. So I want to look for a certain set of matters then I know we have that data for in Foundation, but we likely don't in Clocktomizer. So I want to look for matters that are very similar for my pricing efforts. And this is data that I can't typically use in Foundation. So I'm going to look for matters that have been related to mergers and acquisitions, and I'm just kind of highlighting some of the search we can do here as well. So I can do some very targeted searching. You know, I'm looking for merger and acquisition matters where the total billings for those matters has been greater than $200,000, and these should be cross-border. And you can see I actually had some of these in my recent, but as I was typing ahead, I could get to it. So what this search is telling me is let's look for matters that are M&A, have had at least $200,000 billings, and they were cross-border matters because I need to start putting together some pricing information for this. I run my very targeted search. I have two matters that seem to fit that. So what I can do here is just select this. And then, you know, I could jump back over to a matter drill down looking at these two matters, or what I'm really doing for this is looking at a fee comparison. So now even toggling back to this is going to update where I am in Clocktomizer and add those two matters that I selected as reference matters. I could always even suggest, you know, we're suggesting similar matters as well. I could even click some of those, add them to my reference, and then go ahead and create a matter group that I am then able to work with for all the great stuff I can do in Clocktomizer. And do
Yes,
just want to, oh,
I'm
sorry, go
sorry,
ahead,
Max,
Yolita.
I'm just getting too excited.
Yes, of course.
So if we take a step back, I think that's, you know, would love to hear as well from Ryan and Michael, because what we learned that in Clocktomizer's fee comparison module, the one before the screen, where we compare similar historic matters, we currently look at activity patterns based on these historic matters. So those activities derive from Clocktomizer's algorithm. And Ryan, I think you had as well some thoughts on how this improvement leveraging Foundation's metadata in this specific area of Clocktomizer could be helpful. Would you like to share some thoughts around that?
Yeah, I would say this fee comparison tool has been really big for us because especially with complex litigations, not every matter is the same, not every litigation is the same. But we can occasionally get at least one or two comparable matters from our MRAs that are going to be running the matters, and then we can say, okay, we went into Clocktomizer, we found another 6 or 7 matters with very comparable activity profiles. Why don't you take a look at these and tell us if you think that this is similar to what you're talking about with this particular litigation, and then we can build a much stronger budget based on having that kind of similar matter profile, activity profile on these litigations.
Great. That sounds like a really strong use case supported by just having the two tools integrated. Michael, anything else to add to that? Any additional benefits that you can call out, or any other thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. I came at it from the approach of, you know, I was in Clocktomizer first, and the fee comparison certainly was very helpful to identify comparable matters, as you mentioned, based on activities. One of the things that I noticed, though, when we did move into Foundation was what basically everybody has been mentioning so far, Max, Ryan, Yolita. It's the combination of the meta and the granular. So going into Foundation and being able to identify those certain variables, like Ryan was saying, where, for instance, if we're looking at a complex litigation or an investigation, there's certainly some general activities that take place in every investigation. However, we want to identify comparables that were handled by the Securities and Exchange Commission or the Department of Justice. So identifying certain issues, certain other metadata points, and then going back to the fee comparison gives us a really solid set of data to base the budgets off of. It's sort of the yin and the yang, if you will, I think, the two systems.
Great. Yeah,
That's
Nothing sounds better than just hearing our customers saying that integration actually makes sense and it adds value to you. So that's great to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And what about the processes? What processes are improved with this integration, or rather, how much time do you think you can save getting to those answers, and versus how much time it could have taken you to get to those answers before having both tools and before having them integrated?
Well, Ryan, if you don't mind me jumping in quick, I think, so again, I've been doing this for 11 years, and it's basically it's the same type of work. It's just going over time. And in the past, as I'm sure a lot of the people on the call can understand and agree with, essentially, if a partner comes to you with a request for a pitch, intermatter budget, essentially one of our first questions is always, what are some comparables? And the partner has to think, and they say, I'll get back to you tomorrow. And it's always, the data's there, as Max alluded to earlier, but it's not centralized. So we would have to spend literally weeks potentially of identifying comparable matters and data mining those matters. And we were at the time a very small team. Clocktomizer and Foundation has allowed us to literally exponentially increase our resources by condensing the time frame to within seconds, which sounds almost laughable or humorous, but being able to filter in Foundation on certain variables, metadata points, and then using the natural language processing of Clocktomizer to review the tasks of those comparables has literally allowed us to grow our team's capacity overnight. The training of individual pricing staff has speeded up because we don't have to spend time waiting for a request and then sitting side by side saying, this is what you look for, this is what this means. It's now done systematically. So, I mean, if I were to, it's difficult obviously to quantify sometimes, but each system is more than an FTE's worth of support to the team.
Yeah, I would
that's
agree.
great. And Ryan, before I let you jump in there, we did get a question in chat that kind of pairs nicely with the answer that we just gave. So I'd like to just kind of read that and maybe give Michael a chance to follow up, and then we can turn it over to you. I'm also going to stop sharing my screen right now. Since we were talking about fee comparisons immediately with that first one, I thought it would be useful to keep up, but so we can see some better discussion with us talking about it. But we were posed a question for how granular can we get with the matter attributes in Foundation to aid in identifying proper exemplars? Will the system identify any attributes we decide to track? And just at a high level, yes. So within Foundation, you can run any kind of targeted search. If that information is in Foundation, you can include that in your search to really get down to that scope of matters you're looking for, and then use that as kind of your grouping of matters to toggle back over to Clocktomizer. But along that veins, Michael, are you comfortable with sharing maybe some of those kind of data points that you are capturing that you've seen as being very beneficial to kind of including in your searches as you're trying to identify these reference matters?
Yeah, that's not a problem, and frankly, they're variables that I think any firm, anyone on this call from a firm would probably want to look for. And I also don't think that at this point, after 2 to 3 years of being in Foundation, I'm still not familiar with all the variables we have. And of course, that's driven by what the firm chooses to look for, what we choose to profile in the matters. But it's some of the most basic conceptual data points of what court or jurisdiction. Is this in the Eastern District of Texas litigation versus Northern District of Virginia? Who is the judge? Profiling judges is important because, I mean, judges follow patterns, much like areas of law follow patterns. So, the particular department or governmental entity I'm probably using the wrong terminology, but that is involved, the US government. Is it FINRA, CFPB, the Department of Justice, SEC, what state, what locale is involved? If we're doing attorney general investigations, wanting to know which state is involved or groups of states. So it's a lot of that basic information that you think, oh, it's useful, but it's been all over the place. Now it's centralized and you can filter on it.
Right. Yeah. No. Thank you for that. That was, I think, just really highlights the breadth of information you can use. That if you have it in there, you can use it to locate it. So it's not just a matter of, well, these were the same matter types or from the same practice. It's, you can get as granular as you need to identify that. So,
and that's focusing just on the litigation and investigation side. We haven't discussed transactional work, M&A, purchaser, seller, so.
Yeah, so Ryan, I guess we'll turn that back over to you with that same kind of follow-up question attached to it. So.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to follow up on Michael's point about the FTE and the speed with which we're able to do things. It's helping us spend less time, researching and just providing data, and helping us be better partners with the partners. We can have complex conversations about what budget should include, the granular level of detail around the budgets, instead of just saying, we need to spend time chasing down all these answers.
One thing I think I would add quickly to that is, Clocktomizer does allow us to provide a quick budget based on actual historical tasks. Of course, we'll always spend more time, depending on the time that we have from a partner's request, digging in and getting very granular with the data. But the thing about the fee comparison is, if you have one, multiple, several matters identified, as you had on your screen, Max, you literally have a budget right there that we can provide the partner as they're on the phone with us. So if the partner needs a back of the envelope sort of in the ballpark estimate, it's right there on the screen. We can then refine that, of course, and probably get more detailed and get down to, instead of a range, get a wide range, get down to a more narrow range. But the fee comparison gives you an estimate already within seconds based on those comparables.
Very good. We did have another question come in via the chat that was definitely directed at both of you. So I will, Ryan, maybe if you want to take a stab at answering first, since we let Michael go last time. But how do you differentiate Foundation from a traditional CRM system such as Salesforce, aside from the integration of Clocktomizer? Do your firms use Foundation as their CRM, or can you just speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, we do have another CRM. I believe we're actually in the process of transitioning CRMs. But the goal and the kind of the go forward plan for Goodwin is to make Foundation kind of the central source of a lot of our data and a lot of our reporting, kind of externally. Everybody in the firm has access, can easily, do these matter searches that we were looking at with Max, and seeing some of the more metadata detail into all these matters. And then including Clocktomizers, letting us see narrative level information using the natural language processing. It's, weeding out the differences between the way people write narratives, but giving us a good idea of what the actual work is that they're doing on all these matters. So short answer is no, Foundation isn't our only CRM, but it's where everything is integrating into Foundation, so we can use it as a source of a lot of our information.
And Michael, do you have much of a different reply to that?
Very similar. I mean, it's more than just CRM, because it gives us multiple avenues to answer different questions. It's an enhanced CRM, if you will.
Yeah, and I will just kind of back up from a high level from Foundation in general. We are not looking to, be a new CRM system, but we're definitely have features that help aid with augmenting your CRM and leveraging it with these types of very targeted searches that we were just speaking about. So yeah, great questions from there. And Yolita, I'll give you a chance to
Yeah,
go
I have a
next one.
Of course, great to hear all this input on how WilmerHale and Goodwin function today. It's good to learn from that. I have a follow-up question about that because I know that Ryan at Goodwin, you might have a little bit of a different strategy in driving your attorneys to foundation, while maybe at WilmerHale you have slightly a different approach, how the two tools are utilized. So I would love to hear your thoughts around how do you, once these two tools integrated, how do you promote it internally? What do you do around that to make that investment in both tools to give you more returns and make the adoption of the tools easier?
Yeah, I can go first on this one if that works. So from Goodwin's perspective, we have a pretty good base of foundation users. Most attorneys are relatively comfortable going in, looking up matters, looking up clients in foundation. So for us, the big deal about the integration is bringing in that Clocktomizer level information, where we have the work activities and activity groupings and all that narrative information at the foundation level. I was on a call with our CFO the other week, and he was showing detail that a German partner goes, he pulls down narratives from our financial system and was manually, assigning things to work categories. He said, slow down, let me show you this system. We're still rolling it out, it's new, but let me show you. And the German partner couldn't believe that we have this level of information just available at his fingertips. And the point is, once the integration is fully rolled out for us at Goodwin, he'll be able to go and look at his matters in foundation and have that level of detail he was pulling on his own, in his free time, which nobody has free time. So this is really speeding up, getting rid of things that people were doing externally on their own. It'll be huge for us going forward.
Michael, anything else to add to that and how you deal with the adoption? Don't want to call it challenges, but the tasks, how to help adoption of tools easier?
I would say we have more of a centralized control over Foundation and Clocktomizer in the sense that while we certainly want to share data with the attorneys, we don't necessarily, they're not going into either tool themselves. We take a step back and look at it as pricing is sort of the guardians of the business of law of the firm. Each partner has their own book of business, and pricing helps them align that with the firm's strategic goals. So the data that is housed within Clocktomizer and Foundation is really something that we're happy to share, but we share the dissemination and the research. We have a large team to help with that. We're probably about a team of 15 people right now. But we basically utilize that data internally. It's all administrative staff that use the tools.
Great, thank you for sharing that. I think maybe the main takeaway from that would be that probably there is no wrong or right, whatever works for your firm, and the processes that are the easiest placed in the current processes probably are the best ones to follow. We have just a few minutes left. Seems like time flies by, so maybe just a few last thoughts and key takeaways. Any suggestions that you would have for the audience today if they don't have either of the tools yet, or they're scared of integrations, maybe intimidated by the fact to bring that out to their internal teams? Any key suggestions and tips?
Ryan, I'll let you go. I know I've been starting everything.
Sure thing. Yeah. I mean, to anybody that's scared of integration, I think that the big point of Latera working with both of these tools, having both of these products, is that it's going to be on Latera to build out these integrations and have them work correctly. So we can lean on our service providers to help us get it right, get it done correctly and efficiently. And it's not going to be a big burden on us administratively, but we're going to see all those wins. It's going to be quick, it's going to look good, and we can kind of, show people how effective we can be with the help of Latera and letting them kind of run it for us, make it easy on us.
We'll do our best. Thanks, Ryan. Michael?
Yeah, same. I mean, one of the things that and again, this is a webinar on integration and utilization of the tools, but one of the big wins, I think, in using the tools is the support we get from Latera, because the lag time on responses to questions is de minimis. The fact that we get such regular updates, for instance, with Clocktomizer, has allowed the sheer repetition and speed to update our versions within Clocktomizer by our IS team. It's something like, oh, we'll do that today. In the next several minutes, it's updated and we're testing and validate. So the support really is huge and has allowed us to function as a team, an extension of our administrative team. So that's, I think, what I would say.
Thank you very much for sharing that. And again, we welcome feedback from our existing customers and from our prospective customers as well. Reach out to us. We will share a recording of the webinar soon. And we will also share a handout to help you consider a few use cases for integration. After this webinar, you will get a survey to respond. Just share your thoughts about the experience today. If you are interested to learn more about either of the products, you can share that as well in the survey. We look forward to hearing from you via the survey and hopefully in the next webinars as well. Thank you again, Michael, Ryan, and Max, of course, and most important as well, also our audience today for taking the time. Thank you all. Have a good day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, all.
Thank you.